What's up? Welcome back. I've been gone lately because I have been super busy. My son is in wrestling with leagues and all this stuff. So for about 9 months straight, he just wrestles, and that means every weekend the family packs up, goes to a different city or a different state sometimes, stays there for the weekend while my son wrestles. Blah blah blah. That is over now. He starts shot put now, so 2 months of that again. But anyway, I had a subscriber comment on one of my videos, and he said, "Hey man, I want to see some more videos." And I said, "Bro, not gonna lie, I've been pretty busy. Second of all, I run out of ideas with me being at work and dealing with all the stuff that happens here. Sometimes I run out of ideas to do, for the YouTube thing." So I was like, "Give me some ideas." So he shot some stuff out at me. So William 1000, my Australian buddy, I will give you my thoughts. The first thing you said was, give me your thoughts about, let me get it straight here. Any thoughts on gun control? Since you're an Australian and you guys don't even have a Bill of Rights. That's shitty. Well, I'll start out with, first of all, I love my Aussies. You guys are like our distant cousins that we only see every once in a while, but whenever we do see, we just get drunk and have fun. I knew not a bunch, but like a handful of Australian dudes when I was contracting. All awesome people. Depending on where you're at in Australia, I have a really good buddy on Instagram. His name is Skilled Athlete. He's now an MMA fighter. He was in the Australian Army. I don't know if he's in the SAS or not. I can't remember. He contracted in the same time frame I did, very similar to me. We might have crossed paths in that world, but we're good buddies on Instagram. Give him a follow. He lives in what he calls a cross between Texas and Florida. So you got the Texas rednecks with the whole shitload of alligators and the Florida crazy people. So he lives in that area, and we talk all the time. He's a great dude. So I love my Australian people. I really do. I really wish you guys would get your guns back because you guys deserve them. Anyways, gun control. Well, since you brought up the Second Amendment, let's touch on that for a second, all right? The Second Amendment was brought to us in most part by James Madison, one of our founding fathers. He thought it was a pretty good idea to maybe throw something in our Bill of Rights about guns. Bill of Rights was in 1791. The main theme that Madison wrote to put in the Second Amendment, or why we have it, is that, and we'll get this straight, so every citizen can basically be contracted to be a citizen soldier and overthrow a tyrannical government. And he used that word, tyrannical federal government, is what he said, tyrannical federal government. Okay. They also went on, this was written in, or put in the Bill of Rights of 1791, and then in 1809, the Supreme Court also went on to say, is that so citizens can provide a checks and balances. If you don't know, for my Australian people, in our government, everything has checks and balances. We have three powers to the government, the Supreme Court, the President, and then Congress. And they all have different powers that be, and we have checks and balances for everything. That's how it's supposed to work. This is the ultimate check and balance for our government because it is the citizens' way to ensure that the government doesn't get too big for their britches. So it's our way for the citizens can say, "Hey, listen, government, you're getting a little out of control. You better simmer down." Since then, there have been numerous court cases about the Second Amendment. There have been all kinds of craziness going on. The only thing I wish our forefathers, even though, man, those dudes could, man, like they could look into the future on so many things, and they wrote the Second Amendment. I mean, it's literally, a couple words, and they wrote it in a way that usually any 5-year-old would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Anybody can have any gun they want. Except then you talk to these blue-haired liberals, these dudes are out of control, and they try to misinterpret it and misinterpret the meaning and everything. So I really wish they would have sat down and wrote it out like they were talking to a retarded blue-haired liberal. But they didn't, so here we are, right? We're getting more gun laws every damn day. My thoughts on gun control, very, very simple, very, very quick and easy. There shouldn't be any, period, point blank. That's it. I was just watching something on what's going on in New York City right now. If you don't know, there's like rampant crime on the subway. I don't know what you guys call a subway in Australia, or you have one, but the underground trains in New York. There's crazy crime. People are getting killed, all kinds of stuff. So you have New York City, who you're not even like, you're allowed to have a concealed carry permit, but in order to get that, it's super, super hard. So they make it so hard that way, like hardly anybody has one. So you don't have any guns on citizens, so the citizens can't defend themselves. However, criminals can always get guns. So criminals will have guns, and now they're killing civilians. So instead of the civilians being able to defend themselves, what does New York do? The bright idea. They're like, we're just going to put more cops and soldiers down there. So now you have more cops, and now you have soldiers walking around. Soldiers walking around the subways in New York City, which is just insane to me, because you could literally just make it to be like, hey, you know what? How about we just all carry guns, and then if somebody does something crazy on the subway, you can defend yourself. Or then you have the case of, and I'm sorry, I forget his name, that blonde-haired dude with the little mullet with the mustache who choked that dude out. He was defending somebody on the subway, chokes a guy out. The guy happens to die. Okay. And now this dude's in jail trying to fight for his life because he defended somebody, which in any other realm, like if he would have done that in Texas, the guy wouldn't even have been arrested. But he did it in New York City, and in New York City, things are a little backwards. So, I don't believe there should be any gun control. I think that, you look at not too long ago, you could buy a Gatling gun out of the Sears and Roebuck catalog and have it delivered right to your house. There was nothing that says you couldn't. I also believe that in almost every crime, if you... We got to back up here. How do I say this that it makes sense to everybody of what's going on in my head? We obviously know the system is not correct. Okay, we obviously know that there's many cases of this person did a horrible crime. They should have went to jail for 180 years. They only went to jail for 10, and now they're out on the streets. I'm not talking about that stuff. There's also the cases of, this person rapes little kids and they only went to jail for 5 years. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your crimes that they, when they get sentenced, it is an appropriate sentence. Does that make sense to anybody? If you're killing kids, you should just die. If you're raping people, you should just die. If you're a murderer, you should just die. That's it. Those people, then we would settle all this. But for the people who did a crime and they got the appropriate jail time and they went to jail and they did their time, when they get out of jail and they've served their sentence, they've done their penance to the community, and everybody says, yes, now you are good to go, those dudes should be able to get a gun too. I don't think that, you got a guy who, whatever, stole some cars, and he did a bad thing and he went to jail for 15 years, and now he's out of jail. And he's like, listen, I cleaned up my act. Obviously, jail was not the place I want to go again. So I'm doing everything in my power to stay out of jail. And this dude is, obviously you got to like start at the bottom, right? So you're working the crappy jobs in the crappy areas. This dude ought to be able to get a gun too. Like, why not? Why shouldn't you be able, the right to defend yourself shouldn't go away? I don't believe in that. And then there's arguments over, what if it's domestic violence? What if it's this? What if it's that? What if it's a violent crime? And we can argue about that stuff all day. I would just say this. If bad guy wants to get a gun, bad guy's going to get a gun. It's literally that simple. I mean, there's not a bad guy that can't find a gun. If you're a bad guy and you know how to do bad guy things, then you're going to be able to get a gun. That's all there is to it. As far as we can talk about like all these magazine bans, I think they're fucking retarded. In my state, we have a magazine ban. So my state has one of those, you can't have 30-round mags. You can't buy a 30-round magazine in the state of Colorado. However, you can bring one in from another state and keep it, and it's just fine. Tell me how that makes sense. I can literally go to any state around us, buy 30-round magazines, bring them into my state, and nobody can say a damn thing about them, but I can't buy one in my state. Very stupid. What else? Pistol braces, again, stupid. I don't know the statistics off the top of my head. I haven't looked at gun crime statistics for about a year and a half now. Last time I looked, the amount of crimes that were committed with an SBR or a short barrel rifle were like none. So, I mean, there might have been like one or two out there. So I think that's stupid as well. The NFA is unbelievably retarded. It cost us $200 for a tax stamp just for the government to give us the thumbs up that we could own a suppressor, which does nothing but make it so I don't lose any more of my hearing that I've already lost working for the government. It's stupid. From what I understand, places like Sweden, you can just go into like their local gun store and buy a suppressor, no big deal. They understand that if you're going hunting or anything like that, that a suppressor actually helps the hunter out, and it doesn't spook the game as much. Blah blah blah. The list goes on. So why can't we be like them? We look, the leftists look at countries like that for so many other things. Why can't we look at them for that? I think wholeheartedly that if you can afford to buy like an F-15, go ahead. If you can afford to buy a stealth bomber, go ahead. Those people like the Elon Musk out there that can afford an F-15, they're not the ones committing crimes. They're not the ones raping people, so I don't see what the issue is. If you can afford a tank, whatever. We'll see what other stupid things the NFA have. I mean, think about how much a grenade would be. Just think about that, right? You could make a pipe bomb for super, super cheap. To buy an actual grenade would probably be really expensive. So, again, the people that are buying this stuff are not the ones committing the crimes. And besides that, killing people is already a crime. You can't just go murder folks. So if you're willing to break the biggest crime, killing people, then like getting a gun is no big deal. Having a 30-round magazine is no big deal. It's stupid. My son recently, he's in high school and he's doing college English, and he recently wrote a paper on this same topic, and he was a few things. He saw a video. He was asking about bump stocks, and he saw the video, and there's 100 of them out there of the guy going, "This is a normal AR-15." Bang. bang, bang. This is a bump stock. And I said, okay, watch this. I go to YouTube. I pull up, name your competition shooter, and I click on it, and here's this guy going, blah, 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 blah. No bump stock, no nothing. And he's like, wow, that's really fast. I'm like, yeah. I show him videos of me shooting, obviously not as fast as them. And he's like, wow, that's fast. I'm like, see, the bump stock doesn't really do much. We got on the magazine thing, and, obviously the argument is, you only have 15 rounds, so then you won't shoot as fast or as much. And I said, just watch this, watch these dudes reload. And I show him these guys reloading in competition, and he's like, wow, that's fast. I'm like, yeah, so if he has two 15 rounds, he can shoot and reload just as fast as a 30-round magazine. I'm not that fast. I'm decently fast, but I'm not as fast as, those dudes at all. But even I can take a pistol, shoot 15 rounds, reload, shoot 15 rounds pretty fast. So all of it's stupid. We need to get rid of the NFA, get rid of the ATF. Now the ATF, hold on guys, hold up. The ATF does a few good things. The one good thing they do is like the bombs. They have a whole division of just bomb dudes. And like we had a case when I was a cop of this guy who had stole claymores and shit from Fort Carson, and the ATF was trying to locate that guy. We eventually found him, and we had a big standoff, blah blah blah. But he had stole claymores and stuff from Fort Carson. Obviously not a good thing. So the ATF was involved in that. Every ATF dude that I know, and that's a handful of guys in the area that I live. None of them care about SBRs. None of them care about magazine bans. None of them care about any of that stuff. They only care about the guy who's making pipe bombs and shit like that. Alcohol, that's just, we're done with that. Like, prohibition's not a thing anymore. So, tobacco, I mean, like, we can buy Cuban cigars now. So, so those are completely gone. So you got the firearms part. We could just take all the bomb stuff, take those guys, relocate them to whatever, the FBI or whoever it may be, and then just get rid of the ATF for good. And get rid of the NFA. The people, unfortunately, the powers that be put the dumbest fucking people in the world in charge of the ATF, and then they get in front of Congress and they just look even dumber. I mean, you could take like one of my kids, and they know more about firearms than these dudes in the fucking ATF. But anyways, I'm going on a rant. I'm sorry. So anyways, my thoughts on gun control. There shouldn't be at all, period. But it just, that's us. That's America. America is not everybody. I have been around the world enough to know that what we do here is special. The things that we have are special, and it does not work everywhere. Our freedoms, our democracy, the way we, the way it's supposed to work, the way we vote for people, it doesn't work everywhere, not in every country. And I'm not so naive to think it does. I wish it did. I wish more countries had, what little freedoms we do have. And I wish that countries like Australia could have their guns back. I think that it was a huge knee-jerk reaction, what Australia did. And it's just ridiculous. The sad part now is that it's been, I think it happened in the 90s, right? So it's been, 30 plus years. So what that is, that's a little more than one generation. So now everybody's completely used to it. So now it's a norm. I saw videos in Australia of people, the government, separating kids from their parents to make them get the vaccine for COVID. And what was it, last week or the week before, the CDC just came out and said that treat COVID like the common cold. So if your government is literally ripping kids out of parents' arms to give them a shot of a vaccine that has not even been around long enough to know the side effects, what do you think they would do if they really, really, really wanted to completely control you? Crazy, huh? And in America, I would like to think that the majority of the people doing the controlling, i.e., the majority of the police officers and the vast majority of the military, would not do that. Obviously, there will be some cops and some military that go with the flow. And there will be some people that are like, oh, I'm just doing it because it's my job. And they're going to give some bullshit excuse. But when push comes to shove, I wholeheartedly believe that most of the cops, at least almost all the cops that I know, would definitely take their badge, turn it in, and be like, no, this is bullshit. And they would join the side of the citizens. Granted, I worked in an area this big. The cop world is this big. I don't know everybody. So I can't speak on everybody. In the military, again, I was an infantry guy. I was in the world this big. That world's this big. I didn't know everybody. Can't speak on everybody. But I can say that the majority of the people that you would have to worry about in the military would definitely not just do it because. I can tell you that with pretty good confidence. So, William 1000, I hope I answered your question, buddy. I'll hit up the rest of your stuff. We'll see what else we got. Just for everybody to know. He said, gun control, stories from when you were deployed, lessons learned. I sprinkled them in a couple places. I have a couple stories in there if you want to check them out, buddy. In American history, maybe your favorite story from the War of Independence. Favorite story from War of Independence was Christmas morning when we slit the throats of a bunch of Germans in English, but whatever. How I integrated back into civilian life after contracting. That's a rough one. That was a rough one. But yes, I will talk about that because I think that, and I don't know if I've actually talked about it. I'll have to go look. But I think that is actually a really important video. But yeah, so there's that one, and I'll make another one. So I'll get this one out actually this week sometime. And then there you go, William. Hey, just like William, if anybody else has any ideas that they want to hear, by all means, throw them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to check them out and throw a video out there for you guys. Excuse me. And that's it. All right, so I hope that sums up my my take on the Second Amendment and gun control and all that. Pretty straightforward on that one, right? All right, well, hey, love you guys. You guys take it easy. And always ask yourself, are you an asset or a liability?